Every night, a person would dream the same dream, dreaming of being entangled with a snake. And when he wakes up the next morning, he finds himself in a huge cave. Not long after that, the woman actually got pregnant. This news quickly spread through the village, and the elders said she was cursed by the snake in her dream. A snake-toothed girl inside her womb. A snake-toothed girl is essentially a girl who has been targeted by a snake. According to the elders' words, such children are marked in their mother's womb and might be taken away by the creatures in the mountains later on. The woman couldn't bear the gossip from the villagers and married an honest man. The house was filled with snakes. Soon after getting married, she found out she was going to have a baby. Each snake stood straight, watching the direction of the delivery room as Bayu cried. The big snakes began to bow together, then gradually retreated like the ebb of the tide. This bizarre scene scared the midwife so much that she kept shaking until she saw 2 red marks on Bayu's wrist. She suddenly shouted "Snake-toothed girl" in horror and ran out without picking up the umbilical cord, leaving Bayu's mother dead.
It remains unknown whether this really fulfilled the prediction of the snake-toothed girl, but every dragon boat festival, the snake
Bayu's father tried everything, including driving them away with Ryalg or wine, but they wouldn't leave unless he brought Bayu outside for them to bow to. Only then did they slowly depart. Until one year, a one-eyed old woman came to the village, called May and B, Elder May. She went to Bayu's family and said she could change his destiny. A blood-red gecko and a small silver snake, overjoyed, along with a meteorite jade piece, which were all crushed together. She applied the paste made from the crushed materials onto the red dots on Bayu's wrist. Disappeared completely, to everyone's no traces behind. She also gave Bayu's father a unicorn's chicken and instructed him to keep it in the yard and not mention having such a mark ever again.
Afterwards, the snake indeed didn't come back during the Dragon Boat Festival, but things didn't end there. Instead, something even more terrifying
this horse girl, was different from other children. Before she was 7, she was as silent as a mute. When she finally learned to speak, her first words were pointing at an old man in the village and telling him, "You're about to die." At first, others thought he was just talking nonsense, but 3 days later, that person met with an accident and unfortunately died. Not only this happened several times after that, with people in the village claiming that Bayu, the snake-toothed woman, had cursed someone to death. She kept only a few elderly people trembled as they had come, and Bai's father had beaten Bayu more than once over this matter, ordering him not to talk nonsense anymore. But gradually, Bai's father also became suspicious and wary of Bayu, just like those outside, believing she was an honest snake. He also started to not give her a good face. Her stepsister by Minwei couldn't bear to see him in a good mood. Did not like Bayu. Whenever Bayu had something good, she would pioneeringly take remedies to deal with the bodies that had been gnawed by snakes and told Bayu not to be afraid and not to reveal the snake language she had heard to others. Later, Bayu realized she was different from others, and these well-intentioned reminders were not accepted. As she grew older, she gradually learned to keep quiet. Time flies. Another year has passed, 18 years and the Dragon Boat Festival is approaching. But for some reason, starting from a while ago at night, every night in his dreams, he would see a large black snake coiled in the distance, exhaling a crimson snake's nature while staring at him with those worried green eyes. It has been like this for several days. Every time he wakes up that when her mother was so pregnant with her, she had been dreaming about giving up, and it takes him a long time to catch his breath. How did she start dreaming about giving up too? Remembering that there were so many clothes to wash, she decided to get dressed and head to the backyard. As she was washing, a damp earthy smell suddenly wafted through the air, followed by a rustling sound from the grass outside. Bayu looked up and saw countless snakes crouching into his backyard, with a leading large flower snake meandering in front of Bayu. Slowly opening its mouth, the monkey's head rolled, and it spat out a red jade bead the size of a dragon's eye, which rolled smoothly all the way to Bayu's feet. Then, the flower snake spat out its snake nature and made a human sound. The family's best time arrived. The snake and the pig served as proof carried the sedan chair. After saying this, the snake group bowed 3 times to Bayu, leaving the red jade bead behind, and slowly crawled back into the bushes. The brain kept repeating. Bayu was terrified by the sudden appearance of the snakes and beads. Before he could react, he suddenly heard his sister Bainua scream from the front yard, and then a series of cursing sounds came from the front yard. He quickly kicked the gem into the grass and rushed to the front yard. When he saw what was happening, he froze on the spot. He saw snakes of all sizes crawling over his family's yard, and the rooster that had been kept for 10 years feathers were scattered everywhere, and the broken carcass was torn apart by the snakes. It was truly a short-lived creature living like a human being. Come back today. These snakes hadn't appeared in over 10 years. By Minwei and pulled her behind by Dad. By Dad turned around when he saw Bayu coming and shouted angrily, "Who told you to come out? Get back inside." In this situation, he didn't dare mention the matter with the pig to By Dad and just immediately turned back to appear on the table. But as soon as he entered, the color was both seductive and bizarre, making him feel all cold inside. His sweat soon soaked through his clothes. Didn't it get kicked away earlier? What happened? How did it come back on its own? Bayu felt panic-stricken and walked over quickly, grabbed the gem, opened the window without saying anything, threw it outside again, locked the window, checked several times to confirm everything was fine, in the yard and then left after cautiously. By Dad already had some reservations about Bayu, but with such an incident happening today, he wasn't giving Bayu a good face all day long. During dinner, she kept trying to provoke By Dad. Honestly, I think it's better if we find someone suitable for Bayu to marry off early so she can settle down and stop causing trouble every day, which makes us worry unnecessarily. Minwei put down her bowl and glanced at Bayu. Big sister isn't planning to continue school. Marrying off is at least a place for her to go. She won't be underfoot all the time, bothering others. At the table, he remained silent and took a sip of liquor. Bayu's mind was filled with those creepy snake words, and he still had to sit here and listen to the squabbling between them. The meal became tasteless. At night, when he went to rest, he was still thinking about the pig matter. As soon as he pushed open the door, he saw Bayu sitting at the table than the red snake pearl that came back. Bayu gave her hand a quick glance and immediately changed his expression. Bayu's face turned pale with fear as she rushed over to him and tried to take whatever he was holding. Mengyu nimbly crossed her arms behind her back and turned to look at her, scoffing at Bayu. Where did you get such a beautiful pearl? Bayu didn't want her to know this was a snake's pearl, so he pretended not to be its owner and told her to throw it away. Upon hearing this, Mengyu immediately put the bamboo stick in her pocket and stood up to gaze at Bayu. Since it wasn't your sister's, I found it, so it belongs to me. Bayu really intended to keep it. Bayu panicked and grabbed his hand, speaking earnestly. If we keep it, something bad will happen. Who are you scaring? Mengyu clearly didn't believe him and pushed his hand aside, staring at him with wide eyes. Tell Dad. Bayu, after saying this, Mengyu no longer paid attention to Bayu and went to sleep with the pearl. For several days, Bayu kept trying to persuade her to throw it away. The more Bayu cares about something, the harder he tries to hold on to it. However, Bayu always felt that the pearl would cause trouble eventually. Desperate, he planned to honestly tell Dad about the snake pearl, but before he could say anything, on Dragon Boat Festival Day, Dad suddenly ran to their house and said they saw Mengyu rolling around with one of the boys from her class. Both were unconscious, spitting out foam, still hugging each other shamelessly. A good Samaritan covered them both with a coat and, seeing that Dad's family had arrived, pulled Dad over. Dad was furious and immediately wanted to pull them apart. No matter how much he tried every possible method, they couldn't stop the two entangled individuals at all. One elderly person couldn't bear to watch any longer. He said, "Don't touch them anymore. These two kids have collided with something in the mountains and are covered in silver blood. You, hurry up and prepare something to go to the cave entrance on the mountain to pay respects, and beg that thing to let them go." Thinking of something, Dad turned his head and told Bayu to quickly go find Grandma the village again. Bayu nodded and was about to leave when she first had someone say carry the two children home, then packed some incense and offerings, and hurriedly went to the depths of the back laden flat in the room. Seeing Mengyu like that, Bayu knew it must be related to the bead. After much consideration, she still told her stepmother about the snake bead, including the phrase, "When the snakes carry the sedan chair." His mother got up from the ground, raised her hand, and slapped him, cursing Bayu as the witch the snakes had their eyes on, and even choking him to make Mengyu to pay with her life, saying that Bayu had seduced someone from the mountain. Bai's father returned to Mengyu to suffer for him. Dad's face was already bad when he entered, and after hearing about the snake and pig incident, he rubbed his face with his hand, losing control of his emotions and repeating. Swallowing hard, Julia walked up to him and asked in a low voice, "Dad, haven't you already gone to burn incense?" "What happened?" Father Bai slowly put down his hand, his tired and bloodshot eyes filled with helplessness and despair. "I have pointed out that our Bai family should send a woman over, as it might be time to pay off the debt we owed back then." Bai's heart skipped a beat, and he clenched his sweaty palms tightly. He lifted his head and sighed deeply, what do you mean? His complicated gaze falling on Bayu. Bayu, Dad had no choice either, since this matter was related to snakes and pigs. The snake had its eye on you again, and you saw Mengyu like this with your own eyes. She couldn't hold on much longer. To save his life, you had to do it. Could you please bear it this time? It was rare for father to speak to him with such a pleasant expression, but he was pleading humbly for his sister. He let out a heavy sigh and nodded when they loosened, and then tightened again, and after a long while, Bayu was led up the mountain by her father. On the way, her father kept apologizing to him, telling him not to hold a grudge, not even shedding a single tear. From a young age, Bayu knew she was a snake-toothed girl, a girl remembered by snakes. Even if she tried her best to cover it up, this day would eventually come. Since she couldn't avoid it, why cry and make a fuss? Dignity for yourself. It would be better to be quiet. The night was deep and quiet, the 4 nights pitch black. Bayu knelt alone in front of the cave, eyes tightly closed, with incense and offerings burning beside her. After an unknown amount of time, the rustling sound echoed from the distant bushes, accompanied by the chirping of countless snakes, slowly approaching in his direction. Snake pearl hired by family girl moment arrived. 10,000 snakes carried the sedan chair. Hearing the sound of snakes approaching from afar, he saw countless snakes in the distance. She suddenly opened her eyes and sedan chair, slowly surging towards him through the thick fog. Bayu knelt on the ground, trembling. Don't come, don't come. Seeing the blood-red sedan chair getting closer and closer to Bayu, he shrank back, but behind him was the stone wall outside the cave, with nowhere to escape. The 10,000 snakes, as if facing a great enemy, suddenly stopped in their tracks, bringing the chaotic temple life to an abrupt halt in that instant. The snake swarm suddenly began to retreat, dragging the eerie crimson sedan chair into the forest without a trace. Before long, the clouds and mist in the forest cleared, and the moonlight melted like water. A large snake, covered in black and glowing green, emerged from the depths of the forest through the thin mist, transforming into a creature with hair like ink under the opposite flower tree.